will try to take more calls. I have a question to Maria. That is a question that probably everybody will ask.
Yes.
What's happening with this economy, Maria, from the astrological point of view, based on the fact that there's this situation with Pluto in Capricorn? What chances do we have, to change the situation that affects so many millions of people?
Okay.
With the housing crisis, with the with the stock market, with everything.
What's interesting is that I think astrologers everywhere agree that it will get worse before it gets better.
True.
One of the things that Cancer rules is real estate. It rules your physical living space besides your family. And in the U.S. chart, we have Venus, which is the planet of money, at about 3 degrees Cancer. Okay, so now Pluto is moving into Capricorn, and on the inauguration date, it'll be about maybe 1 degree, leaning towards 2 degrees, close to 2 degrees, which coincides, by the way, it'll be opposing Barack Obama's Venus at 2 degrees Cancer. So his Venus is on the Venus of the United States birth chart. But again, Venus is money, Cancer is real estate. The housing crisis will definitely be getting worse because we have to get through the Pluto-Venus opposition in the U.S. chart, and then I think it will settle up in another 2 years for sure. Okay, we need to get through.
So you think at least another 2 years, no?
Definitely another year and a half. I would have to look in my ephemeris and see when we're finished completely with the aspect. But this is just me looking at one element. There's so many other factors, and I'm not a financial astrologer. There are astrologers who specialize in the stock market and in all of that. And I can tell you, Pluto won't be finished with the United States Venus until November of 2010. Okay, so this is 2 more years. 2 more years.
What about the war in Iraq from that perspective? Is there any way astrology can tell us what's going to happen? My opinion is that we started a war under the energy of the one based on the numerological chart, and whenever you start at the beginning, under the one, any war will last. And at least the element of 7, so it's almost like 7 years. Now, 7 years will be when? Like the summer of the next year, 2009, something like that. We're in the 7th year. I probably believe that by that time we're going to be pulled out of Iraq. Do you agree?
I agree with you. I don't know numerology, so I can't comment.
But let's look astrologically.
Yeah. I agree with you only because I think that the United States is going to, by necessity, have to be completely focused on the United States. We are in for so much crisis and change in our own country that all of our resources are going to be focused on the revolution of our country again. So I think it would make sense that we could no longer be wasting resources fighting a war when we will have to save our country from whatever will be happening to change the landscape of it.
Now, was it possible to predict the September 11 attack astrologically?
Nobody would have predicted that what happened would have happened. But it is very fascinating that if you look at the astrology of September 11th and when the towers got hit and what was going on in the United States chart, it is reflected. And this is one of the interesting things about astrology is when a major event happens, we as astrologers can always go back, create the birth chart, and say, aha, look at what was happening. Now we understand it. But there's no astrologer in the world who would have been sitting at his office saying, I really think that on this day, airplanes are going to hit and a whole terrorist attack is going to be launched. That minute detail is not possible. I
want to tell you something, Maria, so interesting. I have a book in my house, and I want you guys, for you listening, to check on this book called Our Origin. It's written by an archaeologist who went and studied the pyramid, the wall, the antechamber of the king, the walls of the pyramid, and every single major event in the world was uncoded on the walls of the pyramid in the last some 2,000-3,000 of years.
Oh.
So this book talks about the First World War, the Second World War. It goes into every single detail, a major event. And in this book in 1986, this book was published in 1986, there is a reference to September 17, 2001, the day after the big storm, like the big world event that will shock mankind. And it's going to be the week after the big storm. Now, if you take from 17, 6-7 days, it's exactly September 11, 2001.
Right.
Now, remember, this book was published in 1986. Ooh. So it was published how many years before 2001? 15 years before 2001. And the book was only based on interpreting the walls of the pyramid.
That's fascinating.
So how can you explain that thousands of years ago, when those pyramids were, when the walls were the scriptures were like, coded there, so long time ago, talking about the beginning of astrology and the beginning of divination and the beginning of associated our world with planets and numbers and forms of energy. Everything that happened to us was said, has been already projected thousands of years before.
It is.
Not 5 years ago, not 50, not 500, but thousands of years. It absolutely fascinates me.
There's so much that we don't understand, isn't there? You cannot explain so much of this, but you have the faith, and you know that
And I want to tell you, Maria, I really believe that the best astrologer of all time was still Nostradamus, because he calculated everything. He was a phenomenal astrologer. He was also a numerologist in the same time. He was a doctor. Yes. He was a visionary. He used to look in the bowl at midnight, in the water, and see Hitler and describe Hitler 500 years before. Yes. And I really believe that things can be actually calculated, and I think probably that's the way Egyptians calculated September 2001, 7,000 before it happened.
Well, Nostradamus used several divination tools together to come up with his...
Exactly.
So, yeah, he was a powerful.
Powerful, and his amazing mind always said that this world is far from ending. This world goes into 1,000 era apiece, and I truly believe that's going to happen after 2033. That's why every form of government will have to fall apart. We're not going to need presidents. We're not going to need stock market. We're not going to need banks, and all these man-made laws will have to disappear to create a perfect world. I mean, at least a peaceful world. But I think we still have a caller for 5 minutes. What's your name?
Hello?
Claudia?
Claudia?
Hi, Claudia.
Hi, Carmen. How are you?
I want to introduce you to Maria DeSimone. I absolutely love her. I think she's the best astrologer.
Hi, Claudia. How are you?
Good. How are you, Maria? Nice meeting you.
Nice to meet you. Can I start with your birth information, please?
Yes, it's August 1, 1969.
August 1st, 1969?
Yes.
And what time?
I was born between 1 a.m. and 2 a.m.
All right, so I'm going to do 1:30 a.m., okay? And your location of birth?
I was born in Central America, Nicaragua, to be exact.
Okay. Could you please spell it?
NicaraGua.
Did you say Nicaragua?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm just getting you into my system here.
Okay.
And it takes a while.
That's okay.
You know what? I'm not... My atlas is not cooperating, and I know there's only a few minutes left, so I'm going to use a solar chart for you, okay? Which places your sun on the ascendant, and it's just going to... I can still give you an accurate reading from this. I just will not have your exact ascendant. I'm using the sun as your ascendant.
Okay.
We're pressed for time, I feel. So you are a Leo sun, again with the Leo. And you have a Pisces moon. Like Carmen, Pisces, sensitive, compassionate, intuitive. You are very imaginative and creative. And you can be the doormat. People can take advantage of you. Your